all our faces are covered.
I gotta get some mics and we're gonna be able to use the one side.
Oh, okay. Well,
Next time. Right now.
you ready? We're already on?
I
Oh,
was about to say,
let's
what?
go.
I got this game slurping.
You said what?
You are live.
If you don't knock it off.
I forgot what the name of the class was.
How long was we live while we was just? Oh, okay. All right. Can everybody hear me clearly in the class? Is the audio great? You hear? All right. How you doing? How's everybody doing? Who got my book out there? First thing, huh? Better go get that Guard the Man. It'll be a blessing to you. It'll line your life up, all the questions you want to ask. Maybe you didn't have information growing up. Maybe you didn't have your daddy. Maybe if you had your daddy, he didn't have the information. So get two of them, one for him and you. Yeah, so get that Guard the Man. It's on Amazon. Just pull up Guard the Man. It should pop right on up. You can get it from all over the country, all over the world. And yeah, so at any rate, what's the name of the class?
What's the name
How
of the class?
to not only catch
a woman,
a woman,
but to complete her.
but complete her. Oh, that's a good subject right there, huh?
That's a good subject.
Ooh.
Yes.
To not only catch a woman, I was waiting for this class. I'm excited. This is a 3-part series. It's going to take a lot of information to help get you straight, to help you out in your life. All right? How not only to catch a woman, but to complete her. I don't think that's a topic that's really discussed in the urban community, right? I mean, you just don't go around hearing people saying, "Hey, man, yeah, I see you got a new prospect. Are you completing her?" And it's what? Complete her? Right? It sounds kind of passive, huh? It don't seem strong, huh? Them things that don't be strong or them things that don't seem strong be the strongest things, right? Them things that you could just discard easily or make fun of, those be the things that are difficult, right? People would make fun of it because it appears to be difficult, Complete a woman. Man, a woman better be trying to complete me. Woman can't complete you. Oh, man, I done already threw a monkey wrench in the plan. A woman can't complete you. God didn't design a woman to complete you. To compliment you, but not to complete you. Because there's an order, right? The relationship of the man and the woman is supposed to mirror the relationship between God, man, and his God. Did you know that? The relationship between the man and the woman is supposed to mirror the relationship between man and his God. Well, you can see what the problem is right now. You ain't got no relationship with God. That's a problem. Huh? And I ain't talking about this old Christian religious old stuff and thank you, Jesus, and all that. No, I'm talking about something that's real. I'm talking about culture, right? Because a lot of what I'm saying to you right now has a lot to do with the completing part, right? The completing part. But how do you catch? How do you catch a woman? Man, it depends on the kind of woman you're trying to catch. What do you say? I've had so many people that I've mentored through the years, through the decades, that have always wanted to know because they had a fear of talking to women. I've said this one time in my daily fires, but it bears repeating again because a lot of guys are afraid of rejection. They always feeling like, man, just that feeling of rejection. And that feeling of rejection makes me not make an attempt. And I said, I'm going to fix it for you. Some of you might have remembered this, but it bears repeating for the people who haven't. I said, I'm going to fix that for you. You will? Yeah, I'm going to fix it for you. I said, do you realize that everything in life breaks down to mathematical percentages? They said, okay, well, go ahead. What you? I'm talking about math. He really don't want to hear that. Mathematical percentages. He talking about, I ain't good at math. Boy, shut up. Let me talk to you, man. Everything breaks down into mathematical percentages. What do you mean, Drake? Well, when I was in the game and I was trying to catch a prospect, right? And I thought about mathematical percentages. I thought about them in sales. I thought about them in other areas of life, right? And I said, if I make 100 attempts in something, say I make 100 attempts in a month. I'm making 100 attempts in a month. Attempts what? Attempts to talk to females. I can't do that because that's not my strong suit. What's going to be your strong suit after I explain this to you? Because everything I'm trying to teach you about mathematical percentages. Say you make 100 attempts to speak to a female in a month. That's the objective, right? Mathematically speaking, you are going to get the attention no matter what of 10%, at least, of that 100%. 10%, you're going to get some attention from 10%. So out of that 100, 10 women are going to be interested in whatever you're saying. That's just the mathematics of it. That's just the percentages, how the percentages play out, right? And I said, so now, how I want you to look at the situation is I don't want you to look at women in this capacity, right? I said, I'm trying to teach you something so that you could trick your mind, because your mind done trick you. I want you to look at women in math, that your objective is not the 100%. That's not what you're playing for. In the streets, we use playing. I got to play for this. I got to play for that. I got to play up on this, man. I got to play up on this, right? I'm about to give you some game, though, right? So I want you to play, not for the 100, not for the 80. I want you to play for the 10. I want you to think within that 1 month period that you're only trying to get what favors you, which is your percentages. You're playing out of your percentages, right? Stop worrying about the first girl you talk to, the second girl. As a matter of fact, how you play is that those 90, you got to get past them. They're in the way. So now when you are trying to communicate to a girl, you're not having the impact of rejection. Why? Because now the tables have turned. How, Dre? Because now you're the one doing the rejecting. How? Because you're trying to play for the 10. And she was just 100. You need to get her out the way, right? So if you say this, that, and the other, and she doesn't respond, it has no effect upon you because you're only playing for the 10 anyway. So now who become empowered in the situation? You become empowered because you have to reject 90 to get to what benefits you. Now, all that you had inside of you, trepidation, fear of rejection, now I've showed you how to empower yourself. Because in order for you to play for your percentages, what's going to benefit you, you have to be the one to do the rejecting. Look how empowering that is. So now this month, you are playing for 10, not 100. It doesn't even affect you. They just in the way. Get them out the way. Get them out the way. You're playing for the 10%. That's empowerment, right? So that's the beginning on how to catch. You have to find out what strengths you have benefiting on your side. You might not be the tallest, talking to Dove today. You might not be the tallest guy. I was saying this earlier, and I'm not going to go all the way into it because it's adult content. We have children here. But I can teach around the lines of it. I said, here I am, a man that is endued with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? But in the world, historically, there are certain things that were supposed to benefit men. Certain physical characteristics that were supposed to benefit men. One of them were height, right? If you hear some of these things online today, and a guy just talk to a random girl, and they'll say what you're looking for in a guy. How tall does he have to be? They'll generally say 6 foot or 6'2" and up. This is the general idea of what a woman feels that she wants. This is supposed to be to some type of advantage, that a man is tall, right? So a man can play to that advantage of being tall. I never had that advantage and never knew I needed it. So I never considered it an advantage, because when I was in high school and junior high, I was knocking the socks off them tall guys. I never felt what was supposed to be an advantage for a man as a disadvantage for me. It never hindered me in any kind of capacity, because I'm only 5'8", but it never hindered me, because I already was thinking what I am and who I am is going to introduce her to something different. She might not from the gate have thought about, he's only 5'8". Girl, I'm 5'8". You know what I'm saying? I don't want nobody 5'8". He cute and everything, but I need to at least have a man 6'2" if she's 5'8". I didn't want no tall old woman either, but I tried a few. Watch out there now. I tried a 6-footer, 6'2". Anyway,
6'2"?
yeah, she was 6'2". But anyway, I did a little
climbing.
climbing. Anyway, I said there are things that were supposed to benefit males, right? So he's tall, height was supposed to be a big deal, a big thing. I said to Dove, I never see if in my life I felt hindered, maybe it would have impacted me, but I just never felt hindered. Nothing ever hindered me. What is supposed to be the advantages, the built-in natural advantages that a man is supposed to have. And it's always been height. Even in the Bible, when it talks about Saul, the first king of Israel, it mentions something that's interesting. And you guys probably never read it before, but you'll probably read it now. It mentioned that he was tall, 6 inches taller than everybody in Israel. That's what it said. He was tall, 6 inches taller than everybody in Israel. Even in the Bible, they were talking about height. When they talked about Goliath, the statue of Goliath, a man 10 foot tall, height. You know, they got a little guy that be online, and he's tall and he goes around different places, and you could see at the club or whatever, and when a girl sees him and she be like, wow, he's tall, like 6'8" or something, right? So there's supposed to be built-in advantages for height, right? But if I in some capacity in my life, if that was ever a hindrance to me. Now, I did have a girl tell me one time it wasn't about height. I was at a strip club. I was at a girls club, a girlies club, right? And she said, I don't like guys like you. Oh, wow. She said, I like ugly men. This is what she told me. She said, I like ugly men. And I was like, well, I'm not him. I kept it moving, right? But I'm saying that because the class is, how do you catch a woman? Well, first of all, a lot of you have not been astute and learning about women. I have. I love to learn about women. When I was growing up, I had my sisters around. My sister, Sandra, and she was 4 years older than me, and she would tell me all her stories, how she thought. And I just listened because I wanted to hear what they talked about. Boy, girls talk worse than men, trust what I'm telling you. But anyway, more specific than men. But anyway, I just wanted to hear. And I just wanted to study women. It was interesting to me, not use a woman. I wanted to learn about them. So I was open to hearing what they had to say. And so I learned because I was open to hearing. It's like this. What I realized is that because I had a desire to learn about women, it was like a portal opened up based upon my desire to learn about them. It was like a portal opened up specifically for me to understand them based upon where my desire came from. I feel like God gave me more access because the primary of my desire to really learn, not to use them, not just to have sex, but to really understand a woman. Then I start reading, and then I start understanding something about women that the majority of men have never even heard unless you heard it from me. A woman's maternal instinct. I learned about a woman's maternal instinct. I heard one time about a grandmother, this was in Europe, and somehow a car fell on her granddaughter. I don't know how, but you could read about it. And the grandmother, maternal instinct kicked in, lift the car up, and saved her granddaughter. And I was like, boy, that's impressive right there. Whatever that is, I need to learn about. I need to learn about this thing that's something superhuman inside of this woman. And I need to learn about this for myself because this is empowering. This is almost like a spinach to a woman, right? An extra human strength. And it's beautiful. So most men are looking at women and they can't see the beauty in her maternal instinct because they're only thinking about her sexually. So the portal won't open for a guy that's just looking for a woman or looking at her sexually. Understand what I'm telling you? Somebody's saying, how did you learn all this? Because my desire to learn about her was pure. It wasn't based upon having sex with her. Right? And so the portal opened for me. It came from a pure place. Right? So what did I learn about this maternal instinct? Because we're talking about how to catch a woman. And you are feeling, man, you ain't got to go through all that. Yeah, that's probably why you're in the situation you're in. You never had a relationship of any longevity, right? You're probably in and out of relationships. You probably think that you are something that's special because you have sex with girls. That's nothing. Sex is the easiest thing. It could be two homeless people on the street. They're going to find a way to have some sex. That is not the defier or the indicator of who you are as a person. So I learned something real specific about this maternal instinct, right? And I'm going to tell you a story for the people who have never heard it before. I have a friend who I love, and he had a girlfriend, and he was unfaithful to his girlfriend, and he cared for her, right? And he called me. He said, Dre, I need help. I said, what? What? I almost called his name. Don't let me call his name, Holy Ghost. I need help. What do you need? What'd you do, man? This ain't the first time I done helped him. What'd you do? I slept with my girlfriend's best friend. I said, oh, man. He said, but I love her. I want you to help me get her back. I said, I'm going to help you get her back. I'm going to help you get her back, but I'm not going to help you keep her. That's going to be on you. And I talked to him about something that had transpired in his life when he was young, that he had told me about because I met him when we were incarcerated. And I talked to him and I was like, I'm going to repeat to you, listen to me, because this is all about catching a woman, but being a master at it and not just somebody that wants sex. That's nothing. That doesn't make you special, right? You can go buy sex. So it doesn't make you special. You can get that, right? I'm talking about mastery here. coming from a place of really wanting to know her or learn her, right? So I told him, I said, remember what you told me when we were incarcerated? You was telling me when you were younger, 8 years old, that you was having a time in your life and all of a sudden that your mom got up and left you and your dad and you never understood why. You thought everything was perfect. And all of a sudden, and all that you thought was perfect, your mom just left you guys. I said, man, that traumatized you. I said, and he was wondering, what has this got to do with what I'm asking you to do? I said, it has everything to do with it. I said, let me tell you something, man. You are traumatized and you've been traumatized since that 8-year little boy. I said, so let me tell you why you continue, because he's continued to have these kind of issues. I said, but now I'm going to tell you. The reason why you continue to have these kind of issues, because you just said you love her and everything was great. It was, everything was perfect. I said, just like everything was perfect before your mama up and left you. I said, so now in your adult life, you associate perfect with devastation. And because that thing got perfect for you, you begin to fear. You begin to fear your mama was going to leave you again. He was like, what? Every time in your life that a situation feels perfect, it connects you to that little 8-year-old boy. And that feeling you have terrifies you. And you on purpose ruin it. On purpose find a way to destroy it before it destroys you again. That's your trauma. I said, do you see what I'm explaining to you? He said, man, I never really realized that, but I see it. I said, do you understand it? He said, yeah. I said, I want you to go tell your girlfriend that. I'm playing now, boy. Woo, I'm playing. This the game, which is truth. But I'm playing. I feel the anointing. I said, I want you to go tell that to your girl. Tell her what? Tell her exactly what I explained to you. Go tell her I'm not asking for your forgiveness because I don't deserve your forgiveness. But you deserve this explanation of my behavior, not my excuse. And you tell her what I realize. And I said, this is what I want you to tell her. I realized something that I've never realized until I was with you. That's why you deserve this explanation. Until I was with you, I did not realize it. But because I am with you, I realize this. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. And tell her what I told you. Tell her that you purposely sabotaged it and you didn't even understand that it was connected to your mama leaving you at 8 years old. And when I looked over my life, I continue to see every single time that I have a feeling of something being great and perfect, I sabotage it. I try to hurt it before it hurts me, and I didn't even know that lived in me. And because I'm with you, I realize that it lives in me, and I owe you all the things in the world, and you don't owe me nothing. I said, what you don't know about a woman is that maternal instinct. The maternal instinct, when something is coming up out of purity, that girl is going to realize what you said. And because she really loves you, no matter how she feels, no matter what you did to her, that girl is coming to see about you because her maternal instinct will kick in and she realizes the need that you have for her in your life. And that need that you have for her restores her value. I said, that is appealing to her maternal instinct. Do you understand why God would not give it to your evil butt? I was about to say something else. Do you understand why God wouldn't give it to your manipulated butt? Because even though I share that with you, you will not be able to duplicate it because it has to come from a pure place. They will see right through everything you're saying because it's the truth that ignites the maternal instinct in her, not the lie. It's the truth, the purity of the truth That truth will make that girl forget about everything you did, and she will see you as a man she loves in need, and you need her. And she coming to the rescue, brother. And she did. Boy, that's game. That's game. How do you catch a woman? In this little short time, I told you about mathematics. I told you about maternal instinct. You have to be wondering, God, what is this? What else does this man know? You have to be thinking, I wouldn't want this guy to talk to my girl 1 second. And you would be right. Because you haven't done what my desire had me do. Listen to her, learn her, truly wanting to understand her essence. And it didn't come from a place of wanting to go to bed with her or use her. It came from a place to want to understand her, to be a man to her. And God granted me the access to the information because of that. So I've said in prior classes before, when I talk to a girl, I'm not talking to the girl you talk to. Because God has granted me the space to understand her far more than what you do. Because you just want to have sex. And she'll have sex with you too. But you'll never know her. But if she comes talking to me, I will awaken something brand new in her. Something you can't even touch. Something she didn't even know existed in her. And that thing that awakens in her belongs to me. That belongs to me. Something that has never been touched by another man. Whew! Bring the game, son! Bring the game! Listen. Remember earlier when I told you I never worried about a man being taller or whatever because I knew what I possessed he didn't have. I knew it. And I knew what I would awake in this female is something nobody's ever touched. And she didn't even know lived there. Because what am I doing? How do I catch? I'm playing right for the maternal instinct, right from the gate. Awakening something. So we talked about the math, maternal instinct, and number 3, the language of a woman. Somebody said, what? Oh, you didn't know there's a language of a woman, did you? Yeah, because the portals haven't been open to you, right? Because you want the information just to go have some sex or to use somebody, not me. Not me. You could be a little guy that's been successful having sex with girls because that's what you determine manliness by, not me. There's not a woman that's been with me that has ever been injured. Hold on, man. Hold on, man. Hold on. Y'all didn't even hear that. That didn't hold any weight to you, but it holded weight to a woman. See that language of a woman I just shot to you right there? See, that's the language. I said there's never been a woman that's been with me that I have injured. You injure women every day. Every relationship you've had, you injure them because you lie, you manipulate, you deceive, you use. You are an injury. You are an injury. That's all you've ever been. That's why you can't get relationships with women that you've been in that could come speak for you. That's why the relationship you was in before you was in this one, the girl hates you. And the one you was with before that one, that girl despises you too. It could be your baby mama and she don't like you because all you was an injury. All you was an injury. If a woman is not with me today, It's because she chose not to be, not because I injured her. I'm talking good talk. It's because she chose not to be, not because I injured her. Your relationship exists the way it is because you injured her. And now she has a disposition against you because you injured her. Why? Somebody might say, why would a woman not want to be with you? Because to be with a man like me, the expectations are so high. Whew! The expectations are so high. What do you mean? Anybody would like to be? No. The expectations are high because how I live towards her is expected from her too. Right? I can't expect what I don't produce first. Not waiting for her to produce it first. I never believed one time that a woman comes ready-made. So what does that mean? I'm prepared to show her what it looks like before I require of her what I want. There's power in that because you don't know the language of a woman. What are you talking about? I am able to put an extraordinary amount of pressure on a woman that you will never have access to doing. You will never have access to doing it. What is the pressure you're talking about? Living in front of her. You don't understand how powerful that is, huh? Living everything in front of her first, regardless of her deficiencies towards me. Because I know she's not coming ready-made. Heck, all the things I discussed to you, you didn't know. How she gonna know? How she gonna understand? You don't know. So how I'm expecting somebody to come ready-made for an individual at the height of intelligence, of spiritual connection that I have. That's why my position is to come and be the example. So I said, because the expectation to be with me is extremely high. Do you see why? Because I live flawlessly what I talk about. Whew, that's powerful. I want to run around the block right now. I live flawlessly what I talk about. In my book, The Road to Paradise, and that's my first book. In my book, Guard the Man, I say a man's words are not decoration. Your words is just decoration because you're just trying to get some, you know what. They just decoration. A man's words are not decoration. They're structure. I'm talking heavy. Do you understand? So why is it hard? Because of what I lived before her. Where the pressure come from? Because she sees me live it in front of her. So my request is, can I just have what I give to you? Can I just have what I give to you? See, the reason why you don't have that kind of pressure, because you don't live nothing. You are a womb. That's all you are. So you don't live nothing to be able to ask the question. Don't demand it. A man like me don't demand nothing. You think it's manly to demand. I think it's a boy who demands. Why? Because there's nothing in you big enough where she wants to comply willingly. A boy has to demand it. I want something to eat. I want my cereal. I want this. You little boy. See, that characteristics of a little boy. I don't demand nothing from a woman. Are you serious? You think I would diminish myself like that? I'm going to live it because I know the power is in the living it, the example. It's like I said before. It plays out in life when certain situations happen and you with your girl, and maybe you guys are having financial problems. Your rent is due. And you begin to live out in front of her your fear. I don't know what to do. And I live out in front of her everything is going to be all right. Irregardless of what happens, everything is going to be all right. I'm not going anywhere. Me and you are not shifting and changing. Why would I say that? Because those are the most important things in life. Me and you not shifting and changing on one of us, on one another. Those are the most important things in life. If you got $1 billion, million, $1 trillion, understand what I'm telling you, this fundamental principle. I'm not going to change and you're not going to change, and it's me and you. That is the most important thing in a relationship. That's the stickum. That's the cement. Because with that, there's nothing that you can't go through. Nothing that you're not willing to go through. I said, I'm not going anywhere, and you and I are not about to shift and change on each other. And those are the most important things in life. Things come, things go. People get money, people lose money. People are happy, people are sad. Life happens. But this will never change. This here will never change. You can't tell a woman that because you change daily. Just get angry. You change. Just get angry. You change. So you're not developing that example where you can apply the pressure. You relieve the pressure because they could always remember this one will change. Just let a circumstance change. He will change. I will not change. Why? I need to be able to require and add this pressure. I know what I'm losing out on if I change. I know the power of her willingly want to give me, willingly, not demanding it, right? That I jeopardize that. This is how deep it goes. I am conscious of the fact that if this woman observes a shift in me because of anything, I'll always give her an excuse to shift to. I'll always give her an excuse to shift to. So whenever I'm in a situation, I'm conscious of what I could lose. See, you don't got that with you. You don't got that with you. That's why you shift, you change, you get angry, and you let your anger change you. You don't have the understanding of what you're losing, what's being planted, what you're seeding. You don't understand how far it goes. But I'm understanding, I'm communicating to her. See, you're not thinking about it. You're thinking about yourself. But as I'm in the situation, I'm communicating to her. The language of a woman. I'm communicating to her. So as I'm moving, I'm knowing every move is a communication. I'm bringing the game. I'm realizing every movement is a communication, which allows my voice. You can't say what I could say. You haven't laid the foundation. Which allows my voice to say everything is going to be all right. And it holds. And it holds. And whatever anxiety was going on, whatever's happening, my voice holds and stabilizes everything. So the question then, let me give it back to you. I said the class is, how do you not only catch a woman? We're just on the catching part, right? I think the question is going to be a little different because I said, how do you not only catch a woman? Because the way you do it and the way I do it is two different things. That's why I'm a master. That's why I got decades of receipts of constantly duplicating, right? Constantly duplicating in every life, whether it was the pimp game, whether it was marriage, whatever, whether it was me just in a regular relationship, duplicating. Consistently, right? Consistently. I've only shared with you how I catch a woman. And share with you how you've been trying to catch one, because you really ain't been trying to catch one. You just been trying to have sex with one or try to get some money from one or something. You ain't really trying to catch one. You ain't equipped to catch one. You're not equipped. Earlier, before class, I was talking to the remnant men here, and we did a class last night. And I said, listen, the difference about you guys out there and me is that when I come into a woman's life, my priority is much different than yours. Here's that purity that opens up portals to give me information and knowledge. Since that's where you are, God says, let me sanction that. Let me bless you with this information and knowledge, since I see you as purity. Since you don't want to use what I'm giving you for ill means and purposes to hurt people. So my purpose when I meet a woman is to what? Heal. That's my first purpose. Anybody coming into my life, I come to heal. Just with the information I've shared with you, look how healing it is for you. I understand I come to heal. You come for sex, you come for money, you come from all kind of other things, which is why you will never have the willingness of a woman like I have had. Never. Somebody say in the game, I had a girl willing to do this, that, and the other, and woo, woo, woo. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen guys in the lifestyle have girls. And in the lifestyle, I felt so bad for most of them. I remember in American Pimp when Fillmore says, oh, we used to send one to the crazy house and I think one to the hospital. In American Pimp, it was celebrated. Oh, we send one to the crazy house and one to the hospital. That was not how I operate. And I'm not speaking disparagingly upon Godfather. I'm saying in his time, it was a saying. It was supposed to be something that was grandiose, that you were so something that you would send somebody to the crazy house or to the hospital or whatever. That would have never come from my mouth, right? Out of all my respect, I'm just saying an example because I love the Godfather. I'm just making an example that I know I come to heal even when I was in the game. That's why when I did master the game, I was able to have women that were with me in the lifestyle. I was married, Dove and I was married, but these women were with me when I was in the lifestyle and came and did master the game out of their love for me and shared their transparency of how I made them feel. You know that old saying, it's not original with me, but it says a person will forget about what you said to them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. This is all about catching a woman. You didn't think it went into all this because you're not a master. You're a novice. That's why when I was in that lifestyle, every single one of y'all's women was susceptible. Some of you might laugh right now. I'm the one who's laughing. I just didn't want your woman. I'm telling you, because if I'm having a conversation, I'm talking about things that she ain't never even heard in her life. Never. And I'm awakening areas that were dead and dormant that she didn't even know existed. I'm not talking to the girl you're talking to. That's what you don't understand. You saying he couldn't talk to my girl. I won't be talking to the girl you're talking to. I will awaken something in her that hasn't been touched by another man. See how I came back around with that? That's this game. Knowledge. Right? So how do you talk to a woman? I'm just explaining to you. How do you catch them? What do you say? That's what I do. But from my beginnings as a young man, I wanted to learn about her. Right? And the more I learned about her, guess what? The more I respected her. Somebody said, what do you mean you can respect a woman when you were in the lifestyle with working women? Well, I used to tell them, I love you like I love my mama because she was a working woman too. You don't have the space in you to love outside of sex. I was born from a space of loving outside of sex. Dad was a pimp, mom was a prostitute, right? Even when I went to prison or when I was in trial, after they found me guilty, the judge asked me, "Is there anything you want to say, Mr. Taylor?" I said, "Sure." I was like, the people that are considered the scum of the world, the people that are considered the worst people in the world. I didn't have that experience, and that wasn't my reality. Those people that you consider the worst as my mama and my daddy, the people who love me, the people who caress me, the people that hugged me. How could I look at them the way that you look at them? That's not my reality. So when I'm explaining to you about having working women, I didn't view them like you did, because I didn't view my mama like you would have viewed her. I love my mama. And I was able to tell a girl who was with me, who some of them I have children with to this day, I love you. And it came from a pure place. That's hard for you to understand because you didn't come up out of my environment. You hadn't been stretched to that capacity to understand that kind of love. Jesus was. Jesus was. That's why I said an American pimp. Jesus knew it. Right? Because he said to all the people around trying to judge Mary Magdalene, "He who was without sin, let him cast the first stone." No one here has judged you, woman. I won't judge you either. See, you don't have the capacity. With this capacity has to be accountability and responsibility. So when I said I learned how to love a woman, I learned what God thought about a woman. Oh, I understand what the world says. I understand how the world speaks about women, especially Black women, that they're the worst and they're loud and they're boisterous. And I understand all the things that are being said even in modern times. I understood what they were said in my time, right? But why am I not impacted? Because I wasn't impacted about what somebody said about my mama. So you see how spread out I am? You see how vast I am? So me saying, I don't care what you say about women, because I'm about to awaken something that another man ain't even touched before. Because I'm already vast. I'm already outside of the barriers of what people consider to be normal. I'm already out there. When I used to go, I've said this before, when I used to lecture at universities, I remember being at UNLV, and I was explaining to them about this book that I love called, that I tell people to read, called Siddhartha by Herman Hesse. And I was telling about the story about the character in the book, Siddhartha, and his best friend Govinda. And quickly, Siddhartha had a dad who was a priest, and his dad wanted him to be a priest like him, but Siddhartha didn't want to be a priest. And so there was a falling out until his father relented and let Siddhartha go on a road of discovery. So him and his friend Govinda went on this road of discovery, right? And on this road of discovery, they were experiencing all different kind of religions and all different kind of things. Siddhartha wanted to have an experience. So one day they both met and heard about the Buddha. They called him the illustrious one. Oh, the Buddha. And so Siddhartha's best friend Govinda went and joins the Buddha, but Siddhartha does not join him. So periodically, Govinda would come back and see Siddhartha, chop it up with him, and then go back and be with the Buddha. One day, Siddhartha's walking down the street, and guess what? The Buddha's walking towards him. And they're walking, and they come face to face. The Buddha knows who Siddhartha is because Govinda done let him know. The Buddha asks Siddhartha, "Why have you chosen not to join me? Have you found a better way?" Siddhartha says, "No, I haven't found a better way because I know that there is no better or greater way." And this caught me. He says, "But what I learned is that you cannot teach me what you have learned in the hour of your enlightenment." And the Buddha forced a smile and just went his way, right? So I tell the students at the colleges, I said, one day Govinda, like your professor in this class, is going to be a great professor. I said, you see your professor over there? Govinda, Siddhartha's best friend. He gonna be a great professor one day. I said, but students, all of you came a particular kind of way. You were structured. You went to the right schools. You had the right support. I said, I did not come that way. I was forced outside of what is considered the best way, the right and wrong. I was forced outside because of what I come from. And me being forced outside was the thing that forced me to find new information. I said, students, Govinda will be a great professor. I said, but I'm not here to make professors. I'm here to make Buddhas. And the students, they go crazy. I said, so the information I have, your professor couldn't have learned because he got structure. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm giving you the game today. Right? So that vastness of my mom being brought and my dad being in that lifestyle of a pimp and hoe forced me, because as far as the world was concerned, I was never supposed to be anything. That forced me into new information, and you are blessed because of that enlightened information that I was forced to get. I'm sharing with you on how not only to catch a woman, but complete her. I'm a cold cat, man. Hey, man. Hey, man. Ain't nobody out there could fade me. I'm telling you, I'm running circles around them. And you notice I'm not on here speaking about this information. There are my understudies out there trying to sell you this and sell you that. But there's so much that they will never have access to. The deep things, those deep things. Did you know the Bible said deep calls to deep? Whew. A lot of things that I'm saying is only calling to the ones that could hear, and hear with purity, not with the intent to deceive. You will miss it. You will think you hear it, but it won't operate in your life the same that it is manifested in mine. I thank God for both my wives. What you guys think?
You was on such a roll. I didn't want to say nothing.
Well, say something. How you feeling?
Yeah.
Some of your experiences, because I done said a lot, so they probably want to hear from you guys.
You have. Well, we were talking today. You said something so powerful because when we were talking about that subject, you said when we're talking about spiritually, biblically, and we think about women and what we look for, what we want in a woman, and she got to come like this. Like, you'll go sleep with anybody, but then you'll turn right around and say, but I would love a virgin wife or something like that. Just craziness, right? But you would love to go take somebody's virginity, but you want a virgin. And so that's just crazy. So you had mentioned that notice how when me or Naya came, who you are, a leader in the remnant, like he didn't give you a virgin. Right, for a wife.
Right.
And so I thought that was powerful. Yes, in the beginning, it was meant for us to have a helpmate, right? And that helpmate was only supposed to know their husband, because that's how the Most High had created it, right? It was pure. We were not supposed to know nobody else. We wouldn't be around here stuck on a male's size of his body parts, men stuck on women. Our minds would not be structured like that because we were so pure back then, right? Women wouldn't be talking about male sizes, and men wouldn't be stuck on, when you said men don't ask, oh, are you completing her? No, they'll say, hey, did you get her? It's all about who you running through. It's nothing about building, nothing about completing, nothing about teaching, nothing about any of that, right? It's just about who you think you can conquer, and that's it. And then when you feel like you're ready to settle down, you have the audacity to be trying to look for something that you think is pure, right? So when you said that, I thought that was powerful because, yes, Eve went in, of course, everything was messed up because of sin. But just the fact that just because sin happened, the Most High still didn't say to this man who knows so much, who is my servant, I'm gonna give you a virgin. Like, she is just the ultimate of everything, right? And I just thought that that was beautiful, because had that been the case, we probably be going back to times where men gonna be looking for only virgins, right? And so there's so much that can be talked about and divided up with that. But just with the topic that we're talking about today, when you think about value, when you think about building, and when you think about completing a woman and what that looks like, it does not exist in the indoctrination.
That's right.
Right? And it's funny because somebody in the comments said we're low-key a cult, but you're a cult, right? Because you're raised up by the and socialized by the indoctrination, and they created a cult in you. You are the cult that they built up, and you don't even look at that. It's like we were talking about the way the remnant operates, right? We do not allow men and women to just see each other, have sex, and do what they want to do here in the remnant. We make men and women hold themselves accountable in relationships. If a man wants to date a woman, he has to talk to her father, and they have to get approval. And if there's no father, you go to leadership. If there's no father, you go to leadership. That's big, because we over here, we hold you accountable. We will not have fatherless children, men just dating remnant women just to have sex because she got a nice body and she look good, or just because you feel like you need to go release yourself or whatever, and you just want to build a relationship with somebody that you can have access to. We don't play that over here. So the fact that we do that, and we do build something that goes back to, our culture, and people out there in the indoctrination look and they have a problem with how we operate, but yet, and I'm gonna go back again because it brings me back to, you guys don't have a problem with having like 5 or 6 kids with 5 different baby mamas, and you are not a father to none of those kids, and she don't have no accountability either because she's allowing it and she's raising it, but she's complaining because she allowed it, because there's no self-value, right? I thank God for my husband because he taught me self-value, because when we met, I had 3 kids by 2 different fathers, right? So in the indoctrination, men don't care about sleeping with a woman with multiple kids, but they gonna bypass you because as wifey material, because you have multiple kids, or they might be young or whatever, but yet you are the very one out there creating fatherless children and women with no husband. But then you want to have the audacity to feel like you can choose when you feel like it, when you want to marry somebody that you think is wholesome, when you've done created all these wholesomeless women. So when we go back to completing, how do you get a woman? How do you complete her? I knew from the gate that I was hearing something different, because I'm always used to a male trying to tell me what he thinks I want to hear, right? So then now you got my husband coming to me. Now I'm hearing stuff that I want to hear, that I never knew that I felt like I needed to hear. But again, at the very first conversation, my ears and mind was awakened to, oh, this man is very attentive. He is observant, right? Because he was saying stuff that nobody's ever said to me, because nobody paid attention, because all they was doing was trying to get some, right? So, or they might want you to be their baby mama. But the thing is that, sex, men love to have somebody that they know they can continue to have sex with. So when they out on the prowl, they can just take their time, because they always got somebody to go back to have sex while they're working on the next one. Right? So, and I've experienced that and know that. And it's like you said, it could be from the ugliest dude to the finest dude. It don't matter. They all operate the same, right? And with no game, no information, but it's all you know. So when you're a woman in the indoctrination, and you're not used to having somebody that's pure talking to you, you just gonna accept whatever, right? Because at that moment, you just like, you trying to have a relationship and you don't care either. You know, sex might be limited, it might not, but you rather have somebody you could frequent sex with that you know, instead of like dealing with all these multiple different people. So that's how women operate, right? We not out there trying to sleep with everything. Nowadays they will, right? Because there might be something in it for them, right? It could be money, things, whatever. They need to be taken care of. They got kids. They need a baby daddy around sometimes, all that. But to have somebody that you know is coming in with information, right? And they are very observant. They're learning you while they're talking to you. I knew that from day one. When we wasn't even trying to get together, we were just having a conversation because we had just met. And I was like, oh yeah, he's observant. Because ain't nobody in the world ever said that to me about anything on my body or anything. Or I'm gonna say, because we were having a conversation, and I'm gonna just say it, I've always been hairy, right? And he noticed that, but he said, I like that, right? So just certain things that a person can be observant about that nobody else will know, right? And then listening to you, like you're doing more of the talking than they are, because they're actually listening, right? So just noticing that he was very observant, very attentive to listening to what I'm saying, because I could tell by his responses, right? So it wasn't about what he wanted to do to me. It was just about who I am and not even about who he is. So those things of knowing the type of man that he was at that time by the questions and the things that he was saying to me. And so then getting together and then getting married and understanding that the first thing he wanted to teach me was how to value myself, because everything that I had been through in my past, right? Nobody in life, not even my father, not even people close to me, have ever worried about me not valuing myself or even having the eyes to see that I was not valuing myself. So that came in. And when the information he gave me from the very first time worked, I knew that I could trust him. I knew his information worked. And I knew that he was building me into the precious vessel that I knew I could be, that I never thought I could be. Because I literally thought that where I was at was the end for me at 27 years old with 3 kids. I thought my life was over. And I know a lot of women out there have thought the same thing, because you could be 22, you could be 23 with a bunch of kids, no baby daddy, no man around. You might have a man that frequents you sometime because you used to him or whatever, but you know he probably married, got somebody else, but you just dealing with it. You just accepting it because you don't feel like you deserve anything else or you could get anything else, right? And when you at that point in your life, you will accept anything, right? So I lost my train of thought, but I'm gonna go back to say that when he was teaching me, you know, value, respect, and everything that I've never heard in my life, nobody ever telling me or teaching me why I was angry, why I was operating the way I was operating, right? Why I felt like I was at my end, why I would try to kill myself while I was pregnant. And you guys have heard this. Why I felt like the life that I had to look forward to, if it was going to continue to be like this, I'm good with this life. Like literally, y'all can have it, because I felt like my life was over. And like a lot of women, thank you, Holy Ghost, go back to, a lot of women always say, I'm just living for my kids, because they think their life is over and they will never have a man that will stay a husband or anybody, because they also feel like all boys are the same, right? That there are no men out there who take responsibility and accountability, let alone somebody who can bring their minds up out of the pit that they've been given, right? That because they didn't have any other information to pull them up out of there, right? because I was living in a living hell. When the Most High say hell on earth, oh, I was definitely there. I was where Satan wanted me to be, which was to take myself up out of here. And so with that information, it start building me, right? Like we had a class and we keep talking about structure, building structure to learn and to conquer. Because if you don't have the information to build you, you will never be able to conquer anything, right? And I never did. I knew that I had something in me because there were times that I could accomplish things, but I felt like I could go no further, right? Because I didn't have no information. And so when you have a man and a husband who wants that for you, who gives it to you, who raises you up in that, and that's what he's looking at. He ain't looking at your sex. He ain't looking at, and everything. That goes along with the territory, people. Like all those things that we make a god goes along with the territory, but the indoctrination have made sex a god. It have made women and men's body parts a god. It is lifted up above everything, right? Like if your man go sleep with somebody, you gonna kill yourself. If your woman go sleep with somebody, you gonna freaking kill yourself because she done slept with somebody, right? You have elevated sex above God, above you, above everything, right? And it's just crazy. So then you want to talk about this information that is so vital because it teaches you how to not put emotionalism into things, right? But builds the character, integrity, and everything that you need to flourish as a human being on this earth and not the indoctrination, right? And then your spiritual growth. So we could go into all that, but just looking at, the building and what does a woman who is complete looks like? Well, you looking at it. Because,
before you go on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because it takes a lot. What people don't understand, and I really believe that a lot of people just want to be lazy. You want to be lazy, indoctrinated, assimilated people, because this information, like I said, when I say this information took me from death to life, that's exactly what I mean, right? And I am a living witness to it. That's why, you always say, I always tell people, what's wrong with applying the information when you already dead? And when you already dead, you're grasping at anything. So why don't you grasp this information so that you can finally see something work in your life to bring you to a whole nother echelon of living other than being dead? Because literally in the indoctrination with no information, you drowning. Every day you drowning, and you don't even understand why. You don't know where to look. You don't know how to get from out of the pit that you're in. I've seen so many people come here and come out of pits, it ain't even funny. And then you see people go back to pits and vices because they choose that. They want death, right? And then you go back to death and you make excuses about it, but that's what you chose. That's what you wanted. You wanted that life. And I've seen everybody, even the few, not even count a handful of people that ain't here no more, go back to the same vice. And now their life is 10 times worse than it was before they got here, right? So this information works. Building, when if a woman tries to say that she don't need to be built, or she don't need no information, or you can't do nothing for me, that's a lie. I know how old I am. I've been around, and I've been in that indoctrination, and I've been in every single situation that a lot of you women have been in. And you could say money can make you happy, sex can make you happy, a man can make you happy. No, this information is what's gonna do it. I always say, if you ain't got the Most High, you ain't got nothing, because he's the only person that can make whatever you've done in your life disappear. He's the only one who can make you feel like you can ever have virtue again. He's the only one who can restore you. And this information is so vital to men and to women, right? That's why Guard the Man is so important, because women, you already know, men, we need y'all. right? We need you to get this information and step up and take accountability for what the Most High has given you dominion over. You lost dominion, and now we're trying to get it back, but you choosing not to have it, right? Women, we need leaders. We got the Most High, we got the husband, we got the wife, we got the children. There's order. And with no order, you can see there's chaos, right? And in nothing can flourish in chaos. Y'all just keep going through the vicious life circles, looking for answers, trying to find pleasure everywhere. The Most High said, I am the only pleasure, right? And I know we talking about guard the man, but hey, we can't talk about guard the man without the Most High, right? So once we get back into that and get this information, which is truth, that's why it works so well, because the information is truth, right? So when I knew the truth came, then I knew that I could submit to the truth, because in my life, I never submitted to no man, right? I might have did some things in relationships that I felt like I never wanted to do, but I just felt like that's all I deserved and that's all I would ever get, because I didn't know no better. But what's the saying? Once you know better, you do better. You can't do better unless you have the information, right? So yeah.
All praises.
All praises.
How you feel? I'll get to you guys.
You know, as you were talking, it just made me really be grateful for the Most High to bring me out of the curse, right? And, you know, going through situations is like when you were saying, you know, being in relationships and you're dealing with guys and, you know, constantly being injured, right? You're just dealing with injuries, right? And then you picking up those characteristics to where now you're the one that's doing the injuring, right? And, you know, it just made me think about our beginning, you know, how I spoke on it before, where we weren't looking for one another, right? But when we came together, although I had the information, I still didn't come ready-made, right? And, you know, it's like, just like how you were breaking down when you were talking about your friend's situation and how you were able to, you know, bring out that trauma, right? Those things that people they look over, right? Or they just don't know was there, right? You can't look over something that you just don't know was there. And the way that, you know, for you to be able to do for you to do the same for me, right? And, you know, of course, there's plenty of things that's been, you know, hidden and deep down and ways that I will operate, because when I first came, I had my struggles, right? And, you know, just having those conversations and to have somebody that, you know, have the information, you know, to have the relationship with his God, to be able to, where the Most High first healed you, right, to be complete, and, you know, to have a husband that can pull those things out and that can heal, right, and have the ability to complete, right, and, you know, yeah, it's like that made me think about, you know, just with that. Hold on, let me catch my train of thought. Yeah, just to have that, you know.
Or what was it that needed to be healed?
Everything. Everything. Literally, like when I tell you, literally every area of my life, right? Just every area, from just everything, right? Of course, from the inside out, right? Most people just, you know, although when I came, it was like he accepted me for who I was, but he didn't settle for who I was, right? He didn't settle for, you know, what I came with, because, you know, most people do that. They just settle for who they're with, right? And then there's you can't build that way. You can't complete somebody if you just settle for who they are, right? But you have to have the information to know that, to be able to, because to go back, had he just settled for who I was, for who Dove was, it just would have been a disaster, right? It just would have been.
Last.
It wouldn't last. It would just be like every other situation in the indoctrination, right? And but that really makes you, once you get the information, and as we talk and he pulled things out of me, it makes you, it just, yes, you're growing, and it really makes you look at yourself and continue to also build yourself from that conversation, right? To really look at yourself, to know who you are, learning who you are, and, wanting to continue that growth for yourself, right? Wanting, constantly working to want to see that completed version of you, right? That that you didn't think was capable at first, but to know that it is capable, right? To know that you can reach that, you can get to that, right? And it was like when you were in class yesterday, just it really touched me when you were talking about having a man, or just having the information, and how you talk like God, right? How he speaks with the love, the purity, and the truth, and that's what that healing comes from, right? And just it was just so much on my mind, just to have that healing, and
so you feel complete?
I just wanted to cry right there.
I saw you.
Yeah.
You feel complete?
I do feel complete. I really do. Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
See, somebody put that napkin there for a reason.
Right. The Holy Ghost, like,
yeah.
Yeah, I really do feel complete. Because it makes me think about when I was in the indoctrination, how I always wanted, although I had no point of reference, right? But I always felt incomplete, right? Of course, people, you feel like you question why you're even here, right? And just to have felt that for all those years, and being in different relationships and situations, and creating situations for myself, and just constantly throwing myself around, just being out there, right? And dealing with situations and people that it's like you were saying, just going back to constantly going from injury to injury, right? And it breaks you, right? You get to a point where you just feel broken, right? But the beautiful thing is, here in our culture is, that's what the Most High requires, right? He requires you to be broken, before him, in order for him to restore you, right? And just for me to come from that, and just here back to my culture, and even just before he gave me my husband, just restoring, it's like you think about things, and you think about your old self, and things that you felt like you would never come back from, right? But like you were saying, how he restores you from that. Only the Most High can restore you from that, right? And it's things to where I thought I would never forget about that I don't even think about to this day, right? And you know, just to have that, and you know how he, you know, with that restoration gives you your virtue, you know, your womanhood, and you know, learning what it means or what it looks like to be a woman before the Most High, what he considers, what he approves a woman to be, you know, and then for him to bring me my husband, and you know, just it's like, you know, again, it's like that healing, you know, and although just the process of, you know, it's not really an easy process when, you know, you're fighting off your old self and those old things and those old ways and that you've lived for however long, right? And but to have someone that is, you know, patient and you know, that is, it's like I look at my husband as like a God on earth, right? You know, it's like yeah.
I think people, baby, I know somebody said a code or something. We're not offended by somebody thinking it's a code, whoop-de-doo, whatever. But I think people, they can't relate to what you guys are saying. It's like it's not real because in that indoctrination, and what the indoctrination is, it is how a country has raised you, how America has raised you to be that. Look at yourself as ugly, look at yourself as beneath, look at yourself as problematic, right? That you're a second-class citizen, and all those things have worlds to them. What I mean, they have impacts upon you, us, for generations and generations and generations. And so a lot of things that you're operating in is something that was taught you through the indoctrination, through society or socialization of America, putting upon you their ideas and their concepts of who they think that you are. And so a lot of your behaviors and a lot of your activities come from that. And that's what we call indoctrination. It's not who God made you to be. You have an original culture. And when you're looking at us, it seems so foreign because it is foreign to American indoctrination. America has their own culture, their own identity, a system that was made for them and their people. It was never made for you. They brought you here, enslaved our people, and to this day, you see the things that have happened. Why is it that you think that was your original mind? Why is it that you think that you didn't think differently about family, about relationships, about women, about God? All of what you know is through the indoctrination. You love what America loves. You hate what American hates. You think whatever is valuable is what America thinks is valuable. You don't have your own original concepts. All you have is what they've taught you. This is when you're hearing us saying the indoctrination. These are the things we're talking about. And when we're talking about original culture, we're saying we reject the idea of indoctrination, of being in this country and being educated and taught to hate ourselves and all these things. We reject that, right? And we have sought for our original culture as Israelites. And what that meant, how we thought about life. When you read the Bible, you would see the relationship we have is a normal thing in the Bible. But through indoctrination, white folks have sold you an idea of Christianity. We are not Christians. We exist before Christians were here. We are Israelites. The book that they read, that they have taught you about Jesus, is only a book about Israelite exploits. It is about our stories, our exploits. It is about us. Don't you think you should look at it like that? Why is it that a foreign country can tell you about your people? They're going to put a slant on it. They made Yahushua, who they call Jesus, a white man. No white man existed in the Middle East at that time. So this is what we're talking about. So when you're seeing a demonstration, it's foreign to you because you have a foreigner's mind in you. You reject what our culture is. Why are you even reading the Bible? Are you skipping over Abraham having multiple wives? Are you skipping over what God gave us as a people? David had 5 wives. These were men of honor. It's exotic to you. It's we don't look at it as something so exotic. Because when you come back to your culture, you begin to understand the Bible culturally, not religiously. So when you see my wives and you see the feeling, that is the joy of being back home with our original mind. Do you think we're shocked about how you think about us? We understand because we were there. We understand. And we're not here for anybody and everybody. We're only here for the remnant. So for the few that might get it, because our history book already tells us only a third of the people will get it. So we're not here for everybody. We're not on the street corners trying to convert you over to us. We will encourage you to go down to the mosque or go down to the Christian church because we're only here for the remnant. So when you see my wife and she's thinking about what the indoctrination did to her, how she was lost. But what this truth did, one thing for certain, everything we do is transparent, is before the world. We don't hide anything. You only hide something when you think you're doing something wrong.
And you really got to know that the system is, we already know the system ain't for us. But you really got to know the system ain't for you when they rule out having multiple wives. But you got to remember, they allow you to have multiple children by multiple men, and they don't enforce anything.
They allow you to have same-sex marriage, and they tell you that is a human right.
Exactly. Then they got our young men out here being the new age slave catchers, out here killing our young men. For they don't do nothing about it. They have the ability to stop all that. They allow it because you helping them out, right? So we out here killing each other. We out here taking women, making them single mothers, not married, out here by themselves, raising kids. Why are allowing our men just to be out here killing each other and being nobodies and nothing?
Because you have
and you
no
think
culture.
That's okay. You have to know that that's not okay. And when you really get this information and you're able to look at the indoctrination, look at yourself, you should be angry that you allowed yourself to be taken like that. You should be angry that you let the system do you like that and you didn't care.
They don't have a point of reference to be angry.
And that's why when you get this information, because I know when I did, I was angry.
Yes.
Right? Because they don't want you to know who you are.
Period.
Right? Because if you know who you are, it's going to be a problem for them. So they let you be out there and do all the things to keep you indoctrinated and under their feet to keep you from knowing who you are. Right? And when you learn who you are, if you ever do, you keep listening to this information, you going to know who you are. Right? And it's going to create that righteous indignation in you to be the great, powerful person that you was meant to be. But if you don't have the ears to hear and the system got you, that's where you're going to stay.
Oh, praises.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is talking?
I'm waiting for Auntie. Auntie was praying.
No, I wasn't praying. I was looking. I'm prayed up. I was looking at these comments.
Yes. It's you know, it would be funny if it wasn't so sick. All right. And so much has been said. You actually elaborated on something that I want to begin to speak on, but I'm gonna share it anyway. You know, Auntie said that you guys are a cult, and
Who?
Auntie Dove did.
The
My
indoctrinated.
aunt sitting right there to your right.
She said
She-
that who's a cult?
That they're a cult,
Oh, okay, yeah.
not us. And they don't realize it because, and we spoke about this many times before, because they were raised in the assimilation. So you can't think with your original mind. You don't even know that you're outside of your original mind, because your great, 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 great grandparents were born into the assimilation of the indoctrination. And then you are just spawned out of many generations to be brought up in that same indoctrination. Everything that you think, everything that you do, every way that you rationalize is through the indoctrination, right? You haven't woken up. You haven't had that calling that comes over you. You haven't begin to remember who you are in the land of your oppressor, right? There are a lot of Israelites out here, okay? But not all Israelites are the same. It says in the end times, after the curse is over, a remnant will be saved. And not because they just have the information, but because it's information applied, right? In our daily lives. I see a lot of camps out here, and I love them to death. Some of them brothers are very sharp, right? But they operate from a place of hate, even though they have some information of knowing who they are and where they come from. They're still indoctrinated by the hate because they're attached to the, not the disobedience, they're attached to the punishment, right? They're attached to the curse that was bestowed upon our people. We are attached to the disobedience that caused the curse, right? We don't, we see, right? We see, the parent tells the kid, don't touch the stove, the kid touches the stove and they get burned, right? We got enough sense to know better. So I'm saying all that to say that just because you have this information, right? Like a lot of these camps, they don't have this information, but just because you have the information to know who you are, who your original people are, where you come from, who you are to God, doesn't mean that you can understand how to heal somebody. It doesn't mean that you can understand how to build somebody back up, because you're still caught up in that indoctrination of what an immoral woman is. You don't even understand what the enemy's greatest weapon is. It says right here, I just want to share this. It crossed my mind in Ecclesiastes 7:26. And it says, and I discovered that of all irrational sins, none has been so destructive and beguiling one away from Yah as the immoral woman. For more bitter than death is the one whose heart is composed of snares and nets, and whose hands are chains. Whoever pleases God will escape her, but the sinner will be taken captive by her evil. In the indoctrination, in this assimilation that most of you are caught up in, you think the immoral woman is a porn star or a stripper or an escort, right? This is what they would talk about in the church house and in many of these quote unquote upper echelon circles that they've built up and have taught you to value. But it has something to do with character. It's a character thing. See, it says that a wise woman builds her own home, and the foolish one tears it down with her own two hands by ignoring godly precepts. You can look out there in the world and see so many women ignoring godly precepts, and all these unmanly males out here can just sit around and talk mess. They have whole podcasts dedicated to tearing women down that have been assimilated in their beliefs. And so that's why they're out there lending themselves left and right without any thought to it whatsoever. And they think it's the cool thing to do. They rap about it. They talk big about it, right? And so if you don't have the mind to sit back and look at that and all you can talk about it, on one side of the room, you got a bunch of women rapping, talking mess about dudes and talking about, they got to have a big this and big that, and their bank account, their wallet got to be all this. And on the other side, you got a bunch of males saying the same thing about the women. And they both jockey. And you have a whole culture of males and females, not men and women, but males and females jockeying for position, and they're not even with each other. So how much more so in the household where there's no headship because the man doesn't know who he is or where he comes from? He hasn't even begun to, most of you have not even begun to heal yourself because you don't know how to. So how could you ever look at a woman and begin to even consider healing her, bringing her up out of destruction, bringing her back to her original mind, restoring her power and giving her more than what it is that you feel like she should be given to you? All right? If a woman in this world can give you more than you can give to her, bro, you ain't really got much. You ain't got much. And y'all pride and ego takes place and finds validation in the assimilation, in the indoctrination, that it's a manly thing for a woman to give you more than you give her. And all you all can think about is money, sex. You can't think past that. You know, I've had plenty of women that aren't with me anymore. When they left, they took a small fortune with them, right? And I told each one of them, any man is going to want you. You're beautiful. You have it together. You got a home. You got cars. You got money. You got jewelry. You got clothes. All that stuff that y'all like in the world. Any male's going to look at you and want you. But you too blind to see that he look at you like a come up. He's not looking at you to come into your life and see where you're at and pick things apart and go in there and sift through to build up. He's just coming there and see what he can sift out of your life for himself, to reap and take, never sowing anything back into you. And that's the cold part about the indoctrination. And then so what happens? A woman falls in love with someone who doesn't deserve it. And she gives her all. And I mean her all. But you never know, because you never crack open your history book and to read that some things are just for you. Everything that's given to a woman is not for her to give to a man. There are some things that the Most High gives to a woman that are just for her. They're not for us. And because you don't know that, you go through a situation being led by a blind male, giving him all you got. And then when it comes to an end, you ready to kill him. You ready to cut off your own arm just to see him fail. Because you had no idea that you gave up one of your most valued assets, your virtue. You didn't even know. He didn't know. It wasn't taught to him. He could have had his father in his life. That don't mean he had a man in his life. He just had a dad that loved him and raised him. Did the best he could. I'm not even mad at him. But y'all have to realize, you have to wake up out there and realize that everyone out here in this day and age is being raised in one big cult. That's all it is. You look around in the church, you look around in these schools. I was riding one day and I was looking up churches in the area with my wife, and we were just kind of laughing because they were building a new church. I said, they got churches all over the place out here. Well, little did we know, they had about 3-4 times more churches than we realized and we could see. And so I was curious, and we went to go ride and look at some of these churches just on our way home, and they were schools. They were literally, you remember that? Yeah. They were labeling the elementary schools and the junior highs and the high schools were all labeled as Christian churches. Every single one of them in our area. I don't know why. I don't know what that looks like. But they don't really speak about religion in school like that. Last time I checked, when I was in school, it's not something they really brought up. So why would you label all these schools as churches? Just pouring more of that indoctrination is the first thing that came to my mind, right? I'm not saying that this is what's happening, but this is what came to my mind. They're just pouring more of that assimilation, more of that indoctrination into our kids through the public school system, raising them up just like you've been raised up, the way that they want you to think, the way that they want you to believe, valuing what they want you to value. That when you look at a woman, the first thing that comes to your mind, I wonder how many bodies she got. Because all you can think about is sex. That's all you can think about. You can't see anything else. And I get it. Some of you guys out there are young. I was young, full transparency. at some point in life, every young boy, that's going to be the first thing on his mind. But as you grow up and you especially have this information, the scripture says, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish ways. A lot of you males, they became men in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, because you still out there trying to chase down some sex. And then when you chasing down some sex, you sit complaining to these women or complaining about these women and their body counts. Lo and behold, you just a count and you just a body in one of their counts, and plenty of them. And they got the nerve to cry and complain about something. Never want to stand up and make a change. Never want to stand up and try to better yourself and develop. Just sit on the sideline, having something to say, not adding anything of value to the conversation. What have you done lately? Who have you healed lately? Who have you genuinely showed up with love for lately? What have you poured into someone where they can look back at you across their life and say, you know what? After that person came into my life, even if you're not with them anymore, it's genuinely better. Even if their life's not perfect, but did you leave a good mark or a bad stain on that person's life? Most of you don't even want to have that conversation. I can tell you with full transparency about myself. I've healed some people, but I've also tore some people down. I was in an indoctrination. I've had to go back in with this information and pray into the Most High, because I know it wasn't just me. I know it wasn't just me by myself. I had to ask the Holy Ghost to give me the words to help do my part to heal someone that I myself had tore down. Most of you are too embarrassed to even step up to the plate and make that correction. Most of you don't even have the level of accountability that it takes to even consider doing that, nor do you have the love. And I'm not to overshare, because y'all got to get in class, right? But Unc said in the class, I think just yesterday, you should be working to talk like God. You should be striving to talk like God, because God's word heals and brings up out of destruction. It pulls people out of destruction. And if you can't heal and pull the people that you claim to love up out of destruction, if you can't elevate them up to a better place in their life, what are you here for? You're just taking up space. You're not adding any value. And the best thing that you could do is exactly what you're probably doing right now. Sitting on the sideline, staring at your screen, talking mess, complaining, not adding nothing of value to the conversation at all. See, I've heard a lot of people say, D talk about the same thing. The remnant, they talk about the same thing. And we do, because we consistent. We're not all over the place. We don't got a bunch of twisted doctrine to take you over here and toss you to and fro and looking at you like, oh, they look bored. Let's try to toss it up and blind them with this over here. Let's put up some smoke and mirrors. That's not how we get down. It's very consistent. You're gonna see the same thing across the board. Everything matches around here. Everything. And y'all don't nothing match. Just like a clown suit. Just a big circus out there where nothing matches. Everything's array. Everything's tearing down. Everything's death. Nothing is life. And so I could see why you get mad. I could see why you look at something so beautiful and get mad. Because it says, what does the scripture say, Unc? That they will run from the light. The bad people will run from you. You are literally running from the light. And so I've experienced in my life, people hated me for the good I've done. And like I said, I'm not perfect, far from it. But I always strive in my life to be a better man today than I was yesterday, and a better man tomorrow than I am today. There is no, oh, I'm sorry I did that to you. Those weren't my intentions. The pathway to hell is paved with good intentions. What kind of work are you putting in every day to heal somebody, to love on somebody, to bring them up out of destruction, up out of the mud, right? What are you doing when the Most High calls on you for assignment. Are you even worthy of being called on for assignment? Do you even know what that looks like? Were you sitting over there drinking, doing whatever you're doing? And I don't want to. The reason I say drinking, I don't want this to sound churchy because this ain't church, right? Is because you couldn't possibly pick this information up with your mind being clouded. It's impossible. I haven't drank since I was 21. I couldn't imagine blocking my mind from the downloads from this information. I couldn't possibly having the clarity to know and then going back. Like Auntie said, some people have gone back and their life is 10 times worse and they know it too. They know it too. I'm willing to bet anything. They sitting right there shaking their head right now. Oh man, that's the same thing they always say. And why they about to say this and say that? Yes, it's rinse and repeat. Drink water, chop wood. Very consistent. There's nothing more attractive to a woman than a consistent man. Well, what do you think? Is that accurate?
Yes.
And y'all out there all over the place. We are a community working in everything with everything inside of us to heal, to uplift, to love on one another. And that's what we do. We show up in that daily, not when it's convenient. Sometimes it's a major inconvenience, and we're just like anybody else. We bump heads, we go through situations, we have disagreements, but we always revert back to the information, make the necessary corrections, get up on top of it, make sure everyone is lined up in the right, by being accountable for themselves and keep pressing forward. If somebody doesn't want to be accountable and they fall off, that's on them. I know for me, I got to keep on rolling because it's God for me. It's God for me. So I got to keep pressing. It doesn't matter if it's my wife, any of my wives. It doesn't matter if it's my kids. It doesn't matter who it is. If somebody decides that they want to stop, I love you, but this is where I leave you. And keep on moving forward.
I don't know how the heck we came from. That's just the Holy Ghost. I mean, how we come from the rim that we always come back around to this information. I'm trying to tell you guys. So everything D has said is true, but a lot of it is not for you. It is a elevated AP level that's generally too rimmed out there because you guys are coming for what you can understand. You can't understand that conversation. I understood it beautifully, but I know that you couldn't understand it, so it was over a lot of people's heads because it wasn't really for you. So, but it was for remnant necessary. And that's the consistency that we hear and that we will continue to be consistent in because we want to align ourselves after our God. I am God, I change not. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. Right? So, yes, we will be consistent. We will be consistent. You know, we don't want to be given the change.
And it don't matter because as we can see, those who are not here are still in class. And they're still in our paid classes. So you're still trying to get this information and spin it how you want to spin it. So just get it.
Right. All praises. Go ahead, son.
They miss us.
Go ahead, son.
Well, get this information.
Yeah, I wanted to speak on. I was thinking about, it's a saying in the world. I've always heard growing up, the same way you got her is the same way that you gotta keep her, right? But
bring that thing back around.
Yeah, the same way you got her is the same way you gotta keep her. So that's some old school stuff right there.
Yeah.
So an example of that is if you was dealing with a woman and you got her by giving her some money or something like that, you know what I'm saying? She gonna keep expecting that from you. And when you don't show up in that certain space, she not gonna really want to mess with you, right? And I myself, personally growing up, I never was the type to, operate in that manner. When I was younger in grade school, a girl asked me for some lunch money. I'd be like, what? You know what I'm saying? I'll look at her crazy. Like, what you talking about? But to really unpack that saying, the same way you got her is the same way you gotta keep her within this game, the knowledge, right? It is it's not always the case within this information, right? Because you know you may be in a relationship, that you've been in for some time. It may be things becoming dismantled. It may be frustrations within it. You really trying to figure out things within what you have going on. And you know the case may end up being is that you're not after completing the woman you have. You still trying to catch a new one. You know what I'm saying? So, even when you realize that, and that, because people want to give up. They want to end their relationship and move on, and that's why they feel like that. They feel like they gotta catch something new. They want to get out of that and whatnot, and you just keep going in this circle. You keep living that life, and you never end up finding someone to complete. But it's because you don't have the proper information. You don't have the information to complete a woman. Because of the way you got her. It's the same way you gotta keep her. You know what I'm saying? And I know within my relationship that I have with my wife, it was flaws that were inside of me. It was things that I may have operated in because of how, I grew up in indoctrination, and things I felt should be going a certain way, and things I've seen, my family members operate in, and things that molded me to be a certain way within my relationship. You know what I'm saying? And feel, nah, I ain't going for that. This need to be like this and that, but really missing the entirety of the manhood that was missing there. You know what I'm saying? And thinking whatever I had in that time was what it needed to be. So, my relationship being what it was within the indoctrination, it was characteristics that I may have had that, that kept it together, and she got stickum. You know what I'm saying? So, she didn't been in a relationship that she was in for a very long time. So she never wanted to quit. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to quit her either. You know what I'm saying? But to get into the information and get that game, get the knowledge, to turn that around and really and bring that empowerment of that manhood and whatever that I've hurt inside of her, whatever I brought and made her feel away, and the ways that I hurt her in the past, I began to have the information, the knowledge to heal her, to heal the things that I may have put inside of her, that I may have injured, what I'm saying, within her, what I'm saying, to restore that, to restore the relationship to be how it's supposed to be within my culture that I have obtained. You know what I'm saying? And to have that and to live that in front of her so she can see it and have that example. You know what I'm saying? As I'm giving her that healing, as I'm operating and, letting her see what that is, she can be healing and she can live that same type of way. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of, it's not just because your relationship may be going a certain way. Now, it doesn't mean that it's the end for it. It don't mean that you need to keep trying to catch some because you haven't completed what you got going on right now. Focus on completing the woman that you have before you trying to catch something else. You know what I'm saying? So, that's what I wanted to share, man.
I wanted to add something to that because I know they didn't mean nothing by it, because it is a saying in the indoctrination that it's cheaper to keep her. And that's funny because when you start getting this information, you're going to realize it ain't cheaper to keep her in this indoctrination. I mean, in the remnant. In the indoctrination, it might be because that's where your value lies. It's like, oh, yeah, it's cheaper to keep her because she about to take everything I got. And if that's all you got, then that's all you are. You'll never be nothing else. In the remnant, we teach you value, right? And that value teaches you to make sure, let's go back, that when you get somebody, that's why we do courting for a year, right? And you are having accountability, and you know when you get into a sexual relationship with this woman and feelings and stuff is getting involved, and you know you want that woman to be your wife, then you know you ain't gonna have to worry about that, because you know you have a remnant woman, right? But then if that man or woman decide they don't want this information no more, and they want to go out and be what the indoctrination created them to be, because it could happen, right? Then we ain't thinking it's cheaper to keep them. You can go on, because it's cheaper for me to not have to deal with an indoctrinated person, right? And being taking me through all these ups and downs. You're gonna take yourself through them, right? You could go on your merry way,
Right.
and whatever money or whatever I got to give you, you can have it, right? Because we always know over here we can look, we have hope. We know that anything is possible over here. So just like you came and I thought it was going to be 100 for the rest of our life, somebody else can come and take your place. So we're not looking at it's cheaper to keep them, because you're not over here. We know you ain't going to be taking us through all that. The men come like that. That's why they can expect from the women, and we're raised up like that. So in the indoctrination, yeah, that's all they have. It's cheaper to keep her. Well, go on. They be miserable too.
Sam, you going? Who's going? Okay, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, as far as that completedness that I feel, coming back into my culture and then having a husband, replicate a duplicate of the Most High here on earth, like how easy that is for me to recognize and to follow that, and then me live that same way in my life. So I think that's just so beautiful there, because then it's like we complete each other, right? We know there's divine order. We know there's the Most High, the man, the woman, and then the children. So coming from like where we were with our relationship, and then coming to the information and how that like brings like that death unto life, like what was like being shared and what was being said, and how powerful and rejuvenating that is, right? Because now we're both working towards our eternity together. And to not, because I know the Most High isn't going to give up on me, right? And if you're operating that manner, then that'll be the same way that I'll be operating towards you.
Oh, praise it.
Yes, indeed.
That's
All
powerful.
praises.
And that's all for now.
Let me say something real quick, because Dee said something a minute ago, and he was like, who have you healed, and who have you benefited in their life? But ain't nobody worrying about that. But I wanted to speak on that because I know that's remnant language, but I wanted to say that you don't start off like that because you think that's weak. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the indoctrination, and we're talking about how do you not only catch a woman but complete her, right? You think it's weak to start with a disposition in you that I'm here to heal. You think that's weak. When God Himself's disposition, first step is to heal. That's the status. That's what the indoctrination has done to you. It has robbed you of being like the most powerful thing that exists in all existence, God Himself. If you're going to align yourself, don't line yourself after what white man have told you. After what who have made them the authority. They're still the authority over your life. And how you live your life is according to the standards that they have set for you. Well, in this culture, we live our life according to the standard that the Most High has set for us. Be like unto me, right? So if He, being the creator of all things, disposition is to heal, to give, to bring life, why wouldn't I want to align myself like God Himself? You see how different that sounds? Because you just felt like what Dee said was weak. I ain't trying to heal no girl. I'm trying to hit one.
Exactly.
Right?
Mhm.
Because you're a devil. Like your father.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Is that it? Or we got some more? You don't have to force them, but if you ain't got nothing to say, don't say nothing.
So this class was making me see, takes you back to your life, to your past and everything, and it kind of reminded me of of the indoctrination and the men and living in the indoctrination. And before I got with D, I was with somebody for about 10 years, and it was a consistent injury, right? By someone that says that they love you, that they care for you, but it was just lies and usury. You know, he was a womanizer, an immoral man, or my bad, an immoral male. Because not just women can be immoral women, right? Also a man. And a lot of the males out there are immoral because you're not doing anything for a woman to heal her, you're not giving, you're not trying to build her up. You're an immoral man or immoral male. I shouldn't say man, you're just a male. You can't even call yourself a man. And that was an example that I was given for 10 years. And I gave up my value, which was my asset, my virtue, right? Then getting with D, I was seeing a different example. He was consistent, unwavering faith, uncompromising integrity. But I wasn't appreciating that. I wasn't appreciating what God had sent. I was anticipating injury because of my experience and feelings. My disposition towards him would change constantly. Even though I would change on him, he still remained the same. And a lot of you guys can't say that. You guys change. The women change. Then you change. And then there's just a whole bunch of change. There's no consistency. There's no building. There's no healing. He was giving. Even though I was changing and not appreciating, he was healing, bringing life to me, consistently washing me in the word. And so it was just a blessing to have had someone like that come into my life, even though I was just filled with injuries. He was able to patch me up and but rebuild. So I couldn't look like a mummy.
That's right.
Rebuild me with, and refine me, because I had to go through that. I had to go through the fire so that way I can be complete. We say that the Most High's relationship with the man has to mirror the relationship of a woman and her man, right? So if God is our potter and we are the clay, so is our man. And we do get refined through the fire and we come out whole and complete. So just put into perspective of what I just said and really question yourselves. Are you building someone up, or are you just changing, consistently changing? Injuring. Thank you, Unc. And you guys are just a whole bunch of hurt people out there looking like real mummies.
So I do want to say something real brief. Y'all playing a game. Like seriously playing a game with your life. As someone who's had this information for 12 years and I've lived the side of listening, believing and applying it and seeing the results in my life, and I've been on the other end of it too, of doing the complete opposite, being an adversary and tearing down my own home instead of building it. And I'm just letting you know right now, you playing a game. You really, really are. You playing with death, a spiritual death. And I'm just like I always say, anytime I get the mic, I'm just grateful to be here because nobody really knows this fight. And I'm never gonna stop fighting.
Yes.
And I love you guys. And like I said, I'm happy to be here and stop playing with your life.
I forgot to add this on here. It's a verse in our history book. Is James 1:12. Blessed, happy, spiritually prosperous, favored by God is the man who is steadfast under trial and perseveres when tempted. For when he has passed the test and been approved, he will receive the victor's crown of life, which the Lord, the Most High, has promised to those who love him.
All praises.
I wanted to read because when I'm when I'm listening and I'm thinking and I think about my own life and I think about the indoctrination, I think about literally being dead, and I think about what the Most High says about if you try to find your life, you shall surely you shall surely lose it. But if you lose your life for my sake, you shall find it. And it is so true because you would never think that because we don't see the Most High operate in the world with our eyes, that we think he's non-existent, right? And so all we have to look at is the indoctrination that we were conceived in and our parents were, and it goes back so far. So we don't really understand the depth of what we need to get up out of us until we get this information and we realize that it really works. It's really truth and it really does change. It is life changing, not only healing, it's life changing. And I wanted to read the definition of death. Death is this is the indoctrination version because we know the opposite. And it says death is the irreversible cessation of biological functions, right? That sustain a living organism, us, representing the permanent end of life, right? And we know that within the Most High God, the information, like he just says, if you lose your life for my sake, there's a clause there. He didn't say just lose your life. He didn't say go out there and kill somebody that looks like you, right? He said lose your life for my sake, for this information, believe in me, trust in me, have faith in me in this information and see that it works for you in your life, right? Life, on the other hand, is the condition that distinguishes active, functioning organisms from inorganic matter and dead things, right? It clearly cut it off. Of course, it's the opposite, but it says it definitely distinguishes active functioning. That means you're active, you're living, you're doing. Scientifically, it says defined by the capacity for metabolism for growth, response to stimuli, right? Because before we couldn't have certain responses Without this information, it was impossible for you to have a different response with what you were given in the indoctrination, right? And then you go to and reproduction, right? And so it specifically talks about individuals' personal experiences in their life. So it's like there is no way in the world that you can become active, change stimuli, respond differently to something without some different information. It's just like if you read a book, or you go to class, or you go to college and you learn a trade or something. You know that thing can bring different life, different stimuli, different response to things because you're getting different information, right? But it's not going to teach you how to come up out of the indoctrination. It can give you a job in the indoctrination, but you still operating with the same indoctrinated mind, right? So when the Most High says that, and I look at my life, I know I was dead. I know, like I said, I was in straight hell, right? And that's where the enemy wanted me to be. And you guys don't understand that the enemy controls, and he is the operator of the indoctrination, right? And he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's why you can't get out of it without this information, right? So you can't respond to nothing because you have nothing to respond to. That's why most people who can hear this word, because it says my sheep know my voice, right? So some of you out there know who you are. And when you hear this information, you can respond to it with the different stimuli because you can hear the Most High. Some of you just will never hear him, right? You just won't. And so I know that this information brings life. I thought I was dead. I thought my life was over. I tried to take my life 2 times. I thought there was nothing else to live for until I got this information, and I have everything to live for, right? I will never try to take my life for anything, for anybody, no place, no time. And I value myself, right? With my husband, without my husband, I value myself, right? Yes, he gave me the information. Yes, the Most High gave it to him. Yes, I'm thankful, right? But it belongs to me now, right? So, and it does.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So when you get this information, it belongs to you. You are the owner. You operate in it. You work, you live your daily life in it. This is not something that is just a one night stand thing. This is something that you take and you operate in every single area of your life, and you will flourish. You will be powerful. You will be resilient. You will be a conqueror. There's no way in the world with this information that you're given that you can hear. That's why I went back to people saying cult, because you don't understand that you are the cult that was built. We are coming. We are out of the cult. You are the cult, right? Yeah, we're not operating in the indoctrination. We're not assimilated. We used to be, but we're not anymore, right? So I just wanted to say that this life is not, this information in the remnant is not just healing. It is life, right? And I want you to know that, because in the indoctrination, I know you don't know what life is. You don't know what real life, peace, and all that. You have no, you cannot even fathom what life is, right? Because you're still trying to find it. And that's the problem, because you're still trying to find your life every day. You cannot find it, and you will never be able to find it. The Most High is the only one that you can give him your life and trust your life with, and he will allow you to find it. That's period.
All praises.
All praises.
I just want to say one more quick thing. A lot of people value all kinds of things in the world, and family, their spouses, kids, right? And we value all those things too, right? But we value them when it's given to us by the Most High, when we know specifically that it came through him. Everyone thinks that this is the end all to be all, having more than one woman in your life. And that's just something that comes with the territory of you operating your manhood, right? If you having that information to stand, it attracts that right there. And when a woman looks out into the world and she doesn't see men out there and she comes across one in her life, she makes a decision to be a person who cleaves onto what is good. She's not even looking at the other woman. It's not an ego thing for a man. For you males, yes, right? I know for me personally, they be wearing me out sometimes, man. You know what I'm saying? They be wearing me out sometimes, but they'll quit before I will. I just don't have it in me. I keep pressing to the end and they're here, right? So what I look like quitting and they ain't quit, and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that fight. I heard my wife saying that, we're going to keep pressing. We're going to keep fighting, right? Come here, son. The Most High gave me something back in my life recently, and I was thankful for it. This is my son, Yuri. I know he don't like being up here. He probably got that from me. But that's his mother over there in that white shirt. We was together for 15 years, separated for 2.5 years. And through the information, and I've had plenty of women I've separated from, and we've separated in our lives, and they quit. Unc had a dream about her, and I called her, and I said, we weren't together, and I said, Unc had a dream about her. She's like, what'd he say? What'd he say? I said, I'm not telling you, you got to go watch class for yourself. And she wasn't in class, right? And I sent her the link to class. She got in class and hasn't turned him off since. And through the information, through our original culture, we were able to reconcile, right? And come back together and be a family in the information of our original culture and raise our son. Look at him over here looking like a little king, a little prince. So this is what he wanted to wear today. I said, son, wear a suit. He's like, nah, Pops, give me my captain, man.
That's right.
That's right.
I said, man, take this button off. It's going to scratch. He's like, nah, I got to wear my war pin. Appreciate you for those, Eddie.
Yeah.
And just the amount of love I can't even explain to you, right? Knowing that the Most High brought this back together. She'll speak when she's ready, right? No pressure for anybody. But knowing that the Most High brought all of this together, everything in here, brought our relationship back together, brought these women into my life. When we left the streets, they could have decided to keep on going. They had that choice. They said, I'm rocking with you. Mm-hmm. Everyone in here, everyone in this room, the Most High brought together because everyone chose to pick up that mantle of their culture and take on that responsibility. No one backed down from the fight. Y'all always want the easy road. Mm-hmm. Everyone here chose the narrow path. The road seldom traveled.
That's right.
Everyone here walks that path and walks it high and mighty, not because we feel we better, but because we know who we are and whose we are. And we're not accepting nothing less.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Time is running.
So when I was in that indoctrinated script, I spent a lot of time. When I look back in retrospect, man, when I was in that script, I thought I was doing a lot of building, right? That's what I thought my mindset was building with a woman. And, now that I have the truth, really I was just putting a premium on that exterior building, right? My perspective of building with a woman was building a lifestyle, us grinding hard and getting a house, getting a nice car, you know what I'm saying? And going on trips. And then now we're complete. Now we can, live a good life. But in turn, what that caused was a lot of internal damage because that woman was feeling the neglect of, me really taking the time to understand her and, nurture her and, just cater to those areas where she needed that healing because everybody in that indoctrination need that healing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I've been there and it caused this relief doctrine to heal me. You know what I'm saying? So even if I wanted to back then, I couldn't heal them.
All praise.
Which is why I have a receipt right now. This beautiful lady to the left of me, I've been able to take the time and really build on her. And the response I get from her is that willingness to submit to the 100th power. You know what I'm saying? I've never had this level of willing to submit in the world because, I'm starting from the inside out. You know what I'm saying? I'm really taking the time with her, and I'm gonna let her, speak on it, her experience being with me while I'm operating this information. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure there's some women out there in the world that's probably gonna hear this and who I've probably injured. You know what I'm saying? I have injured. You know what I'm saying? In the world, whether that's emotionally or, one woman I've actually struck. Actually, you know what I'm saying? In the world, just that anger, just drinking, stuff like that. But this is a receipt of that refined man, you know what I'm saying, that took the time to build myself up in this information. And when I was ready to, to give, when I had something to give, right?
That's powerful.
When I had something to give, the Most High blessed me with this beautiful woman right here to be able to, pour into. And so I'm gonna let her speak from her perspective and her experience.
That's powerful.
I'm the blessed one, but so it kind of brings me back a little bit. So I'm gonna start from how, being injured and being settled with that for a while, and finally stepping into my value and being submitted under the Most High and being obedient to Him, and just understanding the type of women that He requires me to be. I'm operating in it, and with that operation, He brought me out of a horrible pit, and he's healing me. As by healing me, it's like He immediately blessed me with my husband.
Oh, man.
Right? And as our relationship is growing and continue to grow, I could see myself being the woman that's after the Most High's heart and wanting to be, or being just like my man, mirroring him. And I see how his endurance with his family, right? He had the situation with his family, and seeing his endurance, that made me stand with him.
Praises.
Seeing how he's operating, I'm operating just like him.
That's right.
And so, yeah, he brings that out of me, and I'm gonna continue to be that.
I gotta say this though, even when I met her, right? Because mind you, she was already getting this information, right? So she was already after the Most High's heart. And one of the things that I admired about her was that when I met her, she had just jumped out of faith, you know what I'm saying, left the apartment that she was at and the man she was with, she left that, didn't know where she was gonna go next. And the first place she ended up parking her car happened to be where I was at, man. You know what I'm saying? We met at the store and
Crazy.
I helped her out, you know what I'm saying? And we watched class later on that night. And that same night, Unc spoke in class about her and said she was gonna someday be, a blessing to one of the remnant men. And that night I happened to actually be with her. Yeah, man. That was the Holy Ghost. That was the Holy Ghost. But just saying that to say that she was already after the Most High's heart, and that's what even made us, click off the rip. You know what I'm saying? And now it's just so much building from there. Unc did a class yesterday about being able to speak like God, right? Speak that healing, speak that truth to a woman, and unlocking things inside of her and making her grow, pulling her from them pits of destruction. And You wanna speak on what you told me after class about that when you spoke on my words to you?
Remind me a little
Just
bit.
the similarities. You were saying that because all throughout class she was making little comments like, "Oh, that's me." Oh, she said, you know, she just
That's right.
commentating the whole time, and I'm like, okay, babe, thank you, but you gotta mute the class, so you gotta mute your phone so I can listen. But yes, you know, just yeah, you know, just the truth.
Yeah, so his word, right? That's what it was. It was his word. You know, the truth that comes out his, his mouth, right? It's just healing. What else did I say to you? There's something
Let
else
me
that I
just say,
said.
you could see it.
Oh.
You could see it.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
You could see it.
Clear as day.
And you could see you looking just like him.
Keep
Keep working, son.
Go.
You are,
have
boy,
to
you
see
can, hey, you can see it.
Good works right
I
here.
mean, just the class is from the beginning. I started with, you know, how not only to catch a woman. So we did the catching in the beginning, broken all that down, but the completer,
Mhm.
the testimonials, what you guys have spoken about, starting with these two, then over there was the manifestation of the complete.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? To allow you guys to showcase the evidence, the receipts of that in your own life is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. All of you. I'm so proud. I'm telling you, I am so proud. I don't care what the world says because their lives are not like that. You know, the scripture says in the last days they'll call good evil, evil good.
Mm.
So we are used to people seeing what we do and what we have, but at least we know we're happy, we have joy, we're growing together.
Mhm.
You know, we got a destination that we're pressing towards, right? And they don't. They're going in circles and they're unhappy while they're going in circles. And we've all been there.
That reminds me of a time I had after I think my second daughter was born, before my marriage. And I remember having to walk outside. And I don't know if I was talking to the Most High or not. I don't even remember. But I said, because see, we would love, when we're in bad situations, we would love for them to change. We just don't know how to change it. We don't know what to do. We can't leave a situation. We don't know where to go. We don't know the first thing about pulling ourselves back up. We don't have that information. And it's like, I remember saying, I feel like my life is going to be like this forever. And I was miserable at 22 years old. I was miserable. And it had nothing to do with things or whatnot. It was just like, I don't know what my expectation was out of relationships and, children and just not being married, having 2 kids, and just, I had a problem with being settled in that life. It was not complete. And that, I will never forget that feeling, because now I'm the total opposite. So I have something to look back at and be so thankful for. I have so many things to be thankful for, but the information itself, having you just everything, it's like all the women have said who have remnant men operating underneath the Most High with accountability, right? And we know that they're submitted and obedient to somebody other than us. So their accountability is not based on who we are. They're not operating in who they are for us, right? So that means that their failure is not going to be based on us, because they're accountable to somebody higher than us, right? So that pushes them, because if it's for you, they're going to fail, right? And that's vice versa. If any man is doing anything for you, is going to fail. It's going to eventually is going to fail, because there's going to be something that's not liked, that's said, somebody going to do something, and you it's going to it's going to fall out. It's not, that's what happens in the indoctrination all the time, because there's no accountability higher than you or him. And so I say all that to say that, you know, just looking back at that moment and where I'm at now, I'm telling you, it's so that it's like decades ago, but it feels like yesterday when we're talking sometimes, because when your life, I've been over here for so long. So there was a time in the beginning where I never wanted to look at myself when I was in the indoctrination. It was like Naya today, and like a lot of us who think about who we were in the indoctrination, and you don't want to look at yourself when you come over here and you start living this life. You don't want to see who you were. And when you fall, it's devastating. You don't want to be no way compared to that old person, right? Because you know how far you came, you know who you are, and it's a devastating. And that's how it's supposed to be. But you know, that's why we can sit here and it could be like that for us, because we know who we are. We know what we've been through. We know what it took, and we know what it takes to continue this walk in this information, right? To stay out of the indoctrination and be pulled back into it by anything, anybody, any place, or whatever. It is easy, you guys. And that's why when people say I'm not gonna stop, they realize that this is a daily fight, because they've been living in the indoctrination for so long. It's gonna take even longer, probably for some people it's different, to get that stuff up out of you, right? To have something to combat everything you've been going through with. So I was just thinking about that, you know, going through those different times in the indoctrination where, you know, even just think about it, at 22 years old, I'm talking to the Most High. I'm like, dang, I just feel like my life is always going to be like this. I was miserable, right? Because I didn't have the information to change my life, to change the trajectory of my life, my decisions, you know, how I was operating. And so this information, you guys, is life changing. I'm just trying to tell you, like, I always say, it ain't, you know, nothing beats a failure but a try. To try this information and start operating and start getting it and start implementing it in your life, so that you could see change in yourself, because it starts with self. It don't start with your woman, your wife, and your girl, or whoever you trying to find. If you want to be able to complete a woman, you have to be complete yourself. You will not in no way be able to get this information one day and be complete to be able to complete a woman, right? Oh, you could catch a woman, but you will never be able to complete her. Yeah.
No.
You don't have to.
Well, no, because that just made me think about, you know, just going back to that settling, right? You know, like when I was saying how you accepted me, but you didn't settle. You accepted me for who I was when I came, but you didn't settle for who I was, right? And, you know, with that, you know, just breaking down those curses, and it makes you not even want to settle for that old person, right? And it makes you want to continue to keep fighting, and, you know, just get to that other side completely of who the Most High brought you here to be, you know, and not to keep, you know, going back or falling and being stuck in your delay, like Aubrey said, and, you know, but just, you know, just keep pressing forward, you know, and because it was times where, you know, of course, as, you know, once you get into your culture, there's plenty of things to learn, right? There's plenty of information to learn, right? You just, as many classes as we have, it's just a nonstop thing, you know? So it's not a point to where you get to a point where you feel like you've operated enough to feel like you can stop at a certain point, or where you feel like you've done enough, you know, but just knowing that and keeping in mind that, you know, we just never get into a point where you're comfortable or you've just settled for, you see a change, you just see a change for a week and then you're good, but just constantly keeping up with that, just keeping up with yourself and maintaining that, that the restoration, and yeah, just to get to that point of seeing and feeling that complete, part of yourself, version of yourself,
Praise.
Yeah,
praises.
Yes.
Remnant, we love the remnant. You out there that have enjoyed the class, we're happy for you. We'll be back here next week where we do this 5 days a week and we love it. You know what I'm saying? People ain't got to love it. We love it. It ain't for everybody, but it's for us and we love it. Right? One thing I could tell you is that there's people that has been a part of the remnant and they're not a part of the remnant. We're not upset with anybody. But I can tell you one thing that happens. Immediately, what happens? Immediately, let me just tell you this. When you're in an environment of accountability and you want to be accountable and you can see shifts and change and feel the power of God that gives you the ability to overcome the indoctrination or the old person or the old behaviors or the old cravings or the old handicaps. When you remove yourself from the power of community, the power of culture that gives you that structure and that discipline and that willingness to fight, when that's removed from you, you immediately go backwards. You don't even care anymore. You have no resistance to that old person. You have no resistance to those old cravings. You have no resistance to the old desires. You go right back and you begin to celebrate it. And when you begin to celebrate that you've become the old person again, you begin to hate everything that's new over here. You begin to despise all of what is good over here, right? You can see yourself. You know you don't have any discipline. You know you don't even have the power anymore to say no. You don't have it. It's gone. And that's what happens when the Spirit of the Lord is taken away. All praises. We'll see you later.